Thank you for everyone who is joining me. Uh, so I will be continuing this SCOTUS birthright citizenship. I know that's a continuation of yesterday's story. It's just they actually had arguments now, and so I wanted to go over those. We're not. It's gonna be. I'm not gonna watch the full. Oh, okay. Um, that was weird. But anyway, I got distracted there for a second. Uh, and so here is the clip. Oh, I also figured out why the volume was not working yesterday, so we should have much better volume today.
Nation's highest court appears skeptical of the Trump administration's bid to end birthright citizenship after a high stakes hearing yesterday. President Trump made an unprecedented appearance at the Supreme Court, highlighting the significance of this case. It tests a crucial piece of his immigration agenda, one that's been met with protests.
We are here because of the attempts to undermine and remove birthright citizenship.
You're looking at the views outside the courtroom where hundreds rallied to defend the immigration policy enshrined in the 14th Amendment. CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman is following this case for us. She joins me now in studio to discuss what unfolded. And it was fascinating, Katrina, good morning, to listen to this unfold
Okay,
and the
there we go.
arguments and the justices' efforts to pick
Oh, I need to
apart
put
each
that
side.
behind.
Walk us through what the administration is saying here and what we heard from the challenges.
Yeah. Good morning, Errol. So essentially, what the administration wants us to do is reinterpret the citizenship clause. They're saying rather than give citizenship to everyone who's born in the United States, which is the current status, the people who are here unlawfully, temporarily, should not be given citizenship. And the word that came up the most yesterday was domicile. That is about where your permanent residence lies. And that also dates back to this case, Wong Kim Ark. We talked about it yesterday, which set a precedent for birthright citizenship. They say they're not trying to overturn that case. They just want the justices to look at this language subject to the jurisdiction of. And we have a soundbite of Chief Justice John Roberts with what I think is the key line of the day.
We're in a new world now where 8 billion people are one plane ride away from having a child who's a U.S. citizen.
Well, it's a new world. It's the same Constitution.
And this is so telling, Errol. He's saying the Constitution hasn't changed. And the government is making these arguments about.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting that the current administration is deciding to use this as their arguments, since, like, I do not follow their line of logic. And also part of me wonders are they don't necessarily have a line of logic besides wanting to cog up the current judicial system. Because if this did, for, let's just say, it got the current administration's court case wins and SCOTUS agrees with them, this would put so much chaos into the courts and chaos all over the place because of like how aka slowing down the courts more. And also, what I think it would impact tax revenue because we would have almost 250,000 less people paying tax. Well, I could, if how do I word this? I don't know if I pay taxes to a country that removed my citizenship for nothing that I did wrong and what my parents decided to do. So I could see that as a potential avenue of massive tax, like, not coming into the country. So yeah.
Birth tourism, all of these things. And what they said is that doesn't matter. We're looking back at the text, at the history of this. What was it supposed to mean?
And the justices who lean conservative also seem to have a hard time with the concept of this domicile notion, because you'd have to figure out where the parents were born and reside. And at one point, there was an exchange where Justice Neil Gorsuch had asked.
Hey, also, like, is it very... What happens if they I don't know the paperwork that happens when someone becomes naturalized. I presume it's a lot of it. But, like, how much of the paperwork would you have to show if you got naturalized? And that... Or, like, they said they will allow, like, not temporary people, but... And so, like, gets very murky with what's the boundaries of it. Does that mean green card holders, or is do they also count as temporary? So I'd be very curious about the line of logic there.
Well, what about native-born Americans, Native Americans, and those children? And the man representing the government said, well, I think so, but I'd have to check. And Justice Gorsuch said, I'll take that as a yes. What can you tell us about what it seemed to be, what the justices seemed to be leaning towards?
Yeah, I mean, the Native American issue is complicated. There is a Supreme Court precedent where they were denied birthright citizenship. For decades, they could not get citizenship, and then a statute was passed. But because of this domicile argument, Gorsuch brought it up, and John Sauer, who was arguing for the government, really floundered there. You know, he hadn't really quite...
This is actually a very helpful graphic. It's actually very pretty. I will say that's one of the things I think that legacy media or mainstream media, whatever you want to call them, they actually have decent, quick infographics that they make.
Thought that one through, and that's just a little complicated because of tribal authority, but the same words are at issue, the subject to the jurisdiction of. That's what was talked about in that Native American case. Now, when it comes to the way they're leaning, I'd say this is one where we can fairly say that they are going to rule against the Trump administration here. Maybe it'll be 7-2. It's not, totally clear on that, but they did not really seem to be buying a lot of these arguments. There were absolutely tough questions on both sides, but if anything, they seem to be puzzling out, how do we write this opinion?
Right, and President Trump even was there in person to watch all of that happen, but
yes,
he had a previous appointment he had to leave for by the time the opposing side. Because,
there's multiple ways you can argue, why the current administration can do this. One, executive order can... I'm going to overlap with what I said yesterday, but I'm going to just repeat it for anyone who's new watching. The executive order cannot supersede an amendment. Only Congress can supersede a previous amendment, and they need an amendment to supersede another amendment. That's why we had prohibition, and then it had its appeal, because it's two separate things. And there is no way that you need 2/3 of the House and the Senate. And with the current Congress, I do not see that even on the table. And then you need 38 states. And I don't think that's on the table either, but I don't even think it's going to get that far. So
I've made that case.
An unprecedented moment in that courtroom.
And yet another one. Katrina, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And I don't think I've seen this one, but I believe, the key arguments by the justices, I went today, gave a live reaction to them.
We continue to follow breaking news at the Supreme Court. The High Court is hearing oral argument about the legality of President Trump's executive order. That order is aimed at ending birthright citizenship in the United States. And here's an exchange just a short time ago between Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson and Solicitor General John Sauer.
Are you saying that only people who are domiciled here, as you define it, can form the necessary loyalty to the United States?
It's not allegiance is not a question of subjective loyalty.
Okay.
It is something you owe. It's a reciprocal relationship between the citizen, whether they want it or not. They have that allegiance, and I think it's powerfully
on the basis of what?
Domicile. I mean, that's what it says in so many words in the Venus and the Pizarro. It says, look, if you're talking about an alien, if they're just temporarily passing through, No, they don't have allegiance, but if they've made it their permanent home, they become part of our political community, and they are analogous or akin to citizens.
And just a note for our viewers, the president was at the hearing earlier today, but he is now back at the White House. Right now, I want to bring in CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson, who is closely watching this case for us. And Jessica, a lot of discussion so far on domicile and allegiance to the U.S. Can you break down what this means in this case? Because I have no idea what that is, to help us understand.
Absolutely. I hope so. So we're talking.
I actually don't know what domicile is, so I don't know why I paused.
Talking about the 14th Amendment, we're talking about the citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment, and even more specifically, we're talking about this language that says if you're born on U.S. soil, you are a U.S. citizen, and there we see it on the screen, if you are subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So this entire argument so far has really been about those four words, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Now, why are we talking about domicile? Because the Trump administration has argued that subject to the jurisdiction thereof means allegiance, and allegiance means domicile.
That's a older argument and that stuff, from my understanding.
And
oh, okay.
That's why, in short, we're having this lengthy conversation about what we understood at the time of.
But like, I want to say that's how they argued like some immigrations from like the early 1900s because of who they owed allegiance to, like religious figure. So it's very interesting they're going much older school about this. Well, like, I don't know if it's older school or just using a previous line of logic. But it's intriguing that they chose that. Whoopsie.
Lengthy conversation about what we understood at the time the 14th Amendment was ratified, at the time the cases that were written that interpreted the 14th Amendment, what they understood domicile to mean. I'll add one more thing, which is I think the key case in this area, a case from the very late 1800s, used the word domicile 20 times. And so what you see now is both sides having to contend with, does this word matter and what does it mean?
Huh, okay. And so what challenges do the plaintiffs face in arguing this case?
So I think for those challenging the Trump administration's executive order here, and they're arguing as we speak, I think the challenge is to convince, and I don't think this will be hard, but to convince at least 5 justices that, in fact, this is not about looking at domicile. It's not about looking at allegiance in this sense, that what those who drafted the 14th Amendment intended is to say that what matters is where you're born, not the legal status of your parents. And so I think right now what they're doing is really combating what we heard from the Trump administration for about the first 74 minutes of argument. Again, they're making the argument that look at the text of the 14th Amendment. This was about making sure that the descendants of slaves were full citizens. Look at the cases that interpreted that amendment. They all focused on the idea that if you're born in this country, we don't look at the legal status of your parents, and essentially don't get caught up in the Trump administration's argument about what exactly domicile means in those older cases and if it affects our interpretation now.
There's so much at stake with this case. Jessica Levinson, thank you so much for your insights. We'll see what happens.
Oh, I realized it's just me. Sorry about that. I just realized that like there looks like to be like a leaning about which way the court's going to sway. But one of the concerns is more of how much legal challenges this current administration is doing. And there's very few things that this current SCOTUS has ruled against this current administration. And how long is that precedent going to keep going? And so, like, there, if you want to track this case, it is that's 20 SCOTUS docket number 25365. And there, I got resources. But I hope it helps if I he made this right after I got stuck. We are the only country in this world stupid enough to allow birthright citizenship. That was a statement that Trump made as soon as he exited SCOTUS. And so, like, in that statement, I did a little sneak peek there. But that's not even true. There is multiple nations in this country. There's multiple nations in the world that allow birthright citizenship. And so it's, and I know that current this current administration has a lot is juggling a lot of things at once. And so there we go. And I know that there is a lot of people protesting. If people want to do this, you can still protest in front of SCOTUS if you want to do that. I'm gonna see if there's didn't quite. Okay. I don't know why copy and pasting worked that way. But it's also very interesting he chose to go to this hearing, not like the tariffs one, which I think would have a major impact. So I wonder what helped decide that. I also did add a news ticker at the bottom below me, and that is going to highlight the stories that I'll be talking about on today. So it's just going to keep rotating automatically through. And I also does not talk. Let's see, where's the AP newest one? Nope, that one. That's the one I wanted.
The administration's argument is that the 14th Amendment citizenship clause does not extend citizenship to children born of people who are in the country illegally or temporarily. The argument the administration makes is that the phrase in the amendment that says subject to the jurisdiction does not apply to people who...
also like, I believe one of the justices did mention, and I was hoping that the administration would have more arguments against it, I guess. Um, Even if the line, there's another objection that the SCOTUS could have is the executive orders do not have the power to even question amendment in this regard. And so, and I think that one of the SCOTUS judges mentioned that, so I'm not like the first one who thought of that. And I will full my basic I have very basic knowledge of.
Who are here illegally or temporarily. The justices did not seem to broadly embrace that argument. They questioned Trump's Solicitor General D. John Sauer at length about his argument, and both conservative and liberal justices seemed highly skeptical about the arguments that Sauer made. Representing a class of mothers and their children, Cecilia Wong, the legal director of the American Civil Liberties Union, had a much easier time with the justices. Over the course of about an hour, the intensity of the questioning fell off, which often is a sign about how the justices are prepared to rule. Wong did face questions on one particular issue relating to an 1898 Supreme Court decision known as Wong Kim Ark, which extended citizenship to the U.S.-born child of Chinese nationals who are in the United States. The opinion uses the word domicile some 20 times, and the administration argues that it is limited to people who are here legally, unlike the class of temporary and illegal visitors that the administration says should be excluded from the birthright citizenship. The Justice
Never understood, like, allegiance is always a weird word, especially when you like say allegiance to a nation, like, because what does that mean? Because like I understand allegiance to a faith because like you would maybe practice the doctrine of the faith. You go to activities the faith highly encourages or even maybe requires. You might pray to the deity. So, but like a nation, what would you do? I mean, I could say I do. Hello, thank you for the follow. Thank you so much. And so part of me wonders, like, I could say I declare allegiance on to of course the country if I just vote, or if I protest because I'm helping make the country better. So that's why the word allegiance with the word state is interesting to me. But how is everyone doing today? Before I'll be put it in. That's fair. The I'm gonna switch screens. Yeah. Do you? Oh, thank you. I need to add the head animation. I do. I need to do that. Let's see if I don't know. Oh, yeah, it's gonna count. Yeah. Actually, I'll just do this real quick. I'll work on getting a better one in the future. There. But thank you so much for doing my point. I call them sparkles. I'm hoping to actually have I technically do have a mascot I want to do. Called Azari or Rosari. And you can feed sparkles. So I do want to do that. But yeah, I even though there we go. And also after the ad break, I will be doing we'll be watching Trump talk about his speech about Iran last night. I did watch it live. I do have opinions about it. So yeah. Thank you so much for everyone who stays through ad. If you subscribe, you'll see no ad and you can play words on stream. The ad will be 1 minute and 30 seconds. Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of politician speeches do have problems. But thank you so much for everyone who sticks. 1 minute and 30 seconds prevent pre-roll ads, so that lets people who come in so they don't get ads. So thank you for. It does mean a lot if you do stay through and watch the ad. And I actually watch but thank you for everyone who stayed by through the ad. And so but the short of it, the TLDR of Trump's speech last night is a bit how do I word this concisely? There might be like 2 to 3 more weeks. It might be that long or longer. The allies need to prepare to start doing more, and the U.S. is okay with not maybe doing a quiet retreat. Maybe not the retreat is not the right word. Letting them take it back, and the U.S. is doing more softer support. And so that's a very. Has that been confirmed? Like, I saw there was rumor of it earlier today. But it was actually confirmed. Oh, yeah. Nope, I got. Yep. And thank you, Beth. Yep. I saw a rumor of it doing it, and I was wondering if he was going to let it play out softly to see how to pressure her to change the ways. I heard I can switch those stories around. But like I'm more impressed at how quickly that was rumor last night, and I'm surprised that it was implemented like 12 hours later. Because I read a headline at like 11 p.m. EST. And it's very intriguing that after the rumor is confirmed so quickly. I'm actually curious. I'm not gonna go into itself, but I wonder if Trump made a statement about. He did. Pam Bondi is a great American patriot and a loyal friend. Who faithfully served as my attorney general over the past year. Pam Bondi did a tremendous job overseeing a massive crackdown in crime across our country. Murders plummeting to the lowest since 1900s. Where's the proof of that statement? I don't know where the proof. Like, also, like, that gets a very, very. Okay. We love him, and she'll be transitioning to a much needed new important job in the private sector. Very intriguing that you use the word private sector, not even labeling a new job. To be announced at a later date in the near future. I wonder if that means if she does actually have a job confirmed. But like, that's being honest, maybe she does. But that's just more interpretational there. Our dear deputy attorney is very talented and respected legal mind. Top rank will step into the serve as a acting attorney general. Thanks for your attention to the matter, President Donald J. Trump. And there's videos. Also, I was just curious what you said. I will be talking about the GOP's plans, and it's very interesting. Well, okay, but back to your earlier point, I wonder why. It's more of, that could be a form of soft pressure. I don't think this is like the most mature move to do as a adult, but if someone who's working for me is not doing what they want and we're both on the public stage, I could spread rumor, in quotes, saying that, hey, not like, it won't be officially from me, it'll be like someone who listened to me by eavesdropping or something. But like, hey, did you, I might be letting go of this person. And a form of soft pressure to change up their act. Also, like, do I think that might be too indirect for Trump? Probably. And I forget, like, what I said is like very immature. But I don't, a little bit slightly underhanded. Trump's methods are much more direct. So yeah, that's fair. I wonder why. I guess if I was in Trump's position, if I didn't care about being ethical, I might do that. But that also might be giving Trump too credit and doing like multiple. I was trying to avoid the word catfight, but yes. And I'm trying to. This was literally a breaking story when it came on. I was like tempted to delay my stream again because I saw the story coming out, and right before it came out, I want to say, like, come on. I posted the wrong thing. But base. It's. Hold on. I actually want to restore that. I want to look into the person because, like, what I read was they were thinking about putting Lee Zealand in their position. No, that's fine. I don't. No, please distract me. It actually makes it more entertaining and that stuff. That was more of no. That's fine. I was just trying to be more tactful, but I'm hardly tactful at times. But I am curious. Todd Blanche, or am I saying that correctly? I'm more in. Oh, it's an interim AG role. Okay, that makes sense. Let's see. He's been Republican Party. What was his previous line of logic? I'm double. His name sounds familiar. Oh, he was the Deputy Attorney General. So there is a line of logic. I will fully admit, I did not know who the Deputy Attorney General was until the second. He also made, dismissed the acting Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden, and named Blanche to succeed her. I didn't know that happened. There's so much that's always happening. And yeah, so they're also fighting against that because she also had a deputy, which makes sense. Oh, wait. 2003, Trump hired Blanche to defend him in the district of basically hired Blanche to help him over the concealed hush payments to Stormy Daniels. Blanche later defended him in the federal classified documents in election obstruction cases. He led to Trump's defense in his criminal trial. Ah, that's probably where I heard him from before. What place do you call a lot of old allies? Which is very intriguing. I mean, I can see the theory, like logic there. But yeah, that's also since I'm mentioning the DOJ, I am going to have to do this. I have to mention it. Release all the Epstein files. We have 3 million more that are left not released. Release all the Epstein files. And please, actually give trials to people who are mentioned, do investigations. And I'm very curious. I don't know when the former Prince Andrew is going to be talking to Congress. He might have already talked to Congress. And I will. So I'm curious to see how I will. But part of me wonders if the person that I heard of rumor last night, Lee Zealand, if he will actually be the full one, since this is just the interim one. So yeah. I'm going to be amazed if there's actually a news clip already on this. But I'm going to try and see if I can get an audio clip. Yeah, that one. I typed in the wrong word. I typed in Tom Blanche instead of watching video. There we go. And it's
President personalized that role as I think what you were saying there. How is Todd Blanche any different?
That's an excellent question, and I don't think anybody has the answer. I would point to the history that Todd Blanche has with the president. He has the president's trust. And really, I think Todd Blanche
also tell me if the audio is better today, because I did change some of the settings around.
Times. You know, it was the Jeffrey Epstein kind of bungled situation by Pam Bondi that's led to her demise. Todd Blanche.
I heard it was not just the Epstein thing, like how Pam Bondi dealt with the Epstein thing, but it was also because of her lack of going after Trump's perceived enemies. I'll say that. That was also one of the reasons that I heard that she was going to get fired.
Was really the more experienced prosecutor.
Cool. Awesome.
And I think the person, the attorney that the department and the president's staff went to when there were problems. So Todd Blanche's experience, if he goes up in the Hill, he's not going to attack senators. He's not going to attack the House Oversight Committee. Don't forget, just a couple of weeks ago, 5 Republicans decided to join Democrats and insist that Pam Bondi go under oath for a deposition. Very, very highly unusual. So she lost support on the Hill as well.
So if he goes on the Hill, and if indeed he is the one chosen to go through those confirmation hearings, I think the big question is going to be what happens with the Epstein case. From your perspective, how does that need to be navigated, not only legally, but also from our lawmakers in Congress, many of whom seem to agree. Time to release all of the files. It's signed into law by the president himself. What's the future there?
Yeah, that's really is the key, and I think you're focused on the right issue there. Any nominee, whether it's Todd Blanchard or otherwise, has got to come to Congress and say, we're going to have full disclosure. Everything is going out the door, and everything is going to go to the Hill and to the public for review. No more slowly rolling out things and, oh yeah, these documents were mistakenly withheld when they're highly relevant. They should never have been withheld.
I also
or been
don't
redacted.
like how the files are being released, how the files are being released. Also, I think they're doing a terrible job of redactions. Like, so many victims' names out there. Some of the photos, I feel I don't like how they were redacted. I mean, sorry, they should have been redacted more. I meant that way. I did the opposite.
No more of that. The only hope of any nominee here is to go before the Senate and say,
Part of me wonders if we're not going to see any, like, all the files in totality in the relevant context until the current Attorney General is chosen by a Democrat president or Congress. They were able to redact one victim's name. I don't, well, at least what I heard so far, they might have not kept that up, but every other victim, I believe, they did not redact. But they did redact a lot other names. Who do I think that might have, and it might have had a bigger perpetrator roles in this, or roles that turning a blind eye to this, which are still concerning, and they still should be indicted, or if they did those actions.
This is a fresh start. Everything gets pushed out the door. Zero qualifications on that. And I think that's the only chance.
And also, this is CBS, so like CBS does have its own leanings. I mean, everyone has their own leanings. You just have to understand what everyone's leanings are. Like, I know I'm a progressive leaning, but I try my best to argue, to be like, I understand why Trump would want to get rid of Pam Bondi from, like, a truly, like, his point of view. Like, she was not doing the job that he expected her to do, so he let her go and replaced her with someone he thinks is going to be better for the job. And so I understand that. And for especially in your cabinet seats, you should trust everyone there. I wonder, like, what Trump's, what's the word? Turnaround rate, or like how many people actually stay the whole entire time, though? That's more of a curious thing. That's not like
of getting approved.
Does it hurt Mr. Blanche that he was, as Nancy Cordes reported, the person who went down to Florida, interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell, and then what happened with Maxwell after relative to,
I forgot about that.
I guess you could say, a reassignment of her living conditions? Does that hurt him?
Oh, that's a huge question, because that is totally unusual.
No, there is a lot of I try my best to see both point of views and that stuff and understand the motivations from both sides. I will be progressive, and try to encourage that people have always actions that they can do. I don't want to make people get stuck in the middle of the road and not know what to do. I want to keep encouraging people moving forward and have a plan of action. But, like, yes, there is corruption, but I also think that a lot of our systems have loopholes or a lot of courtesy rules. Where, like, it was socially encouraged to the highest degree, but if someone doesn't care about social niceties or cares about honoring those social rules and they decide not to follow them, some of them I don't think should be social rules. I think they should be hard rules written down, and you have to follow them. Like the president giving up all his business interests while he's president. I'm questioning if it should be a little bit bigger than that, but at least that. And also maybe to his family, because of how much this like money Trump has made for in many different regards. When it comes to stock markets, even his family, like with drones recently, and there's a current conflict in quotes effort. I know that it is a war, but like, and the same thing. I would say the same thing for any elected official. So this is not just going to the president and his family. I would go to Congress as well. And like, stock buybacks is the easiest one I can think of, and term limits and age limits.
Usual behavior, conduct by a Department of Justice. Keep in mind, she had her prison conditions upgraded to a white collar level of minimal security without any agreement.
So like, I know that I interrupted him, so I'm gonna repeat it because I did interrupt him while he's talking. The current Todd Blanche, which is the current acting AG, he's the one who went down to Maxwell and basically interviewed her, and then he moved her to a lighter security facility in a white collar facility versus the facility that she previously was in. He is the one who did that. I assume that like the administration there's probably a lot of people work to sign, so he's not the only one, but he was like the face of that activity.
Cooperation without any indication she was cooperating and become a witness against others. That does not happen. And so the question is, what was the deal there? We still don't know, and it's highly suspicious. And on top of that, there's no way a deputy attorney general should have been the one doing the questioning. That's where you send in your professional, experienced line prosecutors who then report to the Department of Justice and the deputy attorney general. So yeah, that's a big area of questioning that Todd Blanche will face.
And
Scott
also just show
Frederickson,
bias.
expert legal analysis. Good to see you. I hope to have more conversations with you here on CBS News 24/7. Thank you so much. Let's go live now to CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman. Okay, so President Trump has been accused of weaponizing the Justice Department, even though at the beginning of this second term, they said they wanted to do exactly the opposite. They blamed the Biden administration.
And so, I'm trying to see if I... That was actually... There we go. So, it's very intriguing. Go to there. The writing's on the wall. He got her to agree not to. Yeah, and part of me wonders of how long, like, wouldn't surprise me if that was the deal. Basically, if she agreed to not talk about this current administration or anyone involved in this administration, to get a nicer facility to spend her time in. And a lot of the current administration's actions have been shown not to care about the victims of Epstein, which is a terrible and sad thing. So it's very interesting. I want to say I found an interesting when I look into political stuff when I'm not on stream. One of the interesting things I found is, I'm gonna see if I can do this too at once. This is the Epstein fallout tracker. And basically it tracks every single person here. So there's them if they're arrested. Only one person's been arrested, and it's a British politician. Charged 3 people. And so it has all this is being tracked in other sued, terminated or resigned. Wonder. Hold on, I'm curious. I'm trying to look for. I highlighted I searched up I was looking up the word. Why did it stop here though? I was trying. Okay. So context only. Okay, so it's probably just more of she is associated. Introduction, release the files. Yeah, makes sense. 30. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And yeah, so I was just talking about her investigation role and all. I was just curious. But it shows all of that, and if people want to actually see other details, it is a lot of the details are you have to be 18 plus, please, and you can actually see some of the files are released. I believe someone made an interactive interface for it that looks like Gmail. I will add that to my Discord server if people want to see that resource, so they can see some of the messages that are sent. Because some of the emails that Epstein sent was also to like, I'm going to just do denied involvement. There we go. These are people who were mentioned in the Epstein files, but they've denied involvement. I will. Wait. Okay. I just recently started learning about Al Gore. Oh, that's covering it up. Hold on. I will admit, of some of these names I actually don't know, but some of those names are very well known even today. And maybe they'll be more well known for people who are older, since some of them are like actors and celebrities just change so much nowadays. But like these are all. But yeah, so this is a very interesting website. It's called Epstein.observer. So it's very interesting. And I think I don't like being. I don't word this. And this is on both sides of the aisle. My concern is, how is this going to actually be able to? How can proper investigations be done if some of the people are major funders of the current administration, or even the next administration, or previous administrations? Because you have a bias now. Anyone who funds you, you have a bias for or against. Most likely not against, but depending on what happens interpersonally. There is no way you can have an unbiased investigation into those individuals, and the biases are going to the point of, you might rule this billionaire didn't do anything, because if you realize if you sentence that billionaire, you are going to cut off a source of funding the U.S. government uses. That is highly concerning, and no person should have that protection. And this includes Bill Gates, which I actually still dislike Bill Gates, or Elon Musk. No one should have that protection on either side. And the only thing I can hope for is a council or committee doing an outside investigation into the US, but I don't even know how the jurisdiction would work for that. Because like you can only sentence the U.S. citizens in. Oh, what's the word? They can only do so much against U.S. citizens and U.S. Wait. Well, who are the people under investigation? I'm just curious. Well, at least some people are getting under investigation. That's the bright side of this. I don't recognize anyone's names on this page, though. Larry Summers. I might know that one. That sounds familiar. I don't know who that is, though. Oh, I didn't realize. Watch. There we go. So yeah, I just only recognize that one. See if I can actually put this. I'll put this in Twitch chat, but in about 1 minute and 16 seconds, another ad will start automatically to stop pre-roll ads. If you do not want to see pre-roll ads, please subscribe on Twitch. Everyone else you can have an opportunity to play words on stream. And see, I just wanted to put that in chat. And there we go. Yeah, like, it's terminated and resigned. Oh, I have to go fast. Since I have like 18 seconds. Yeah, I need to do like a deep dive on Epstein. But yeah. Thank you for everyone who stays through ad. If I'm just having fun with it a lot right now. Making on to the next. I do want to talk about now they are changing their tunes about the funding bill. And so they're changing it so they are now what's the exact quote I want to get? I want to say both of these. Okay, there we go. In the coming days, Republicans in the Senate and the House will be following through the project as director by fully funding the entire Department of Homeland Security on 2 parallel tracks. That is a joint statement from Thune and Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson's the Speaker of the House, and then Thune is the Speaker of the Senate. And so majority leader in the Senate. That's the correct. Okay. I used the correct. So that is happening there. So their plan is the bill that passed in the Senate, the House just voted, and it passed in the House. They made some changes, so the Senate has to vote on it again. I have to see the exact changes they voted on. But there we go. There we go. Also, tell me if I need to zoom in because I don't know if that is actually readable on screen. I'm actually going to zoom that anyway. There we go. And so the next actions are. I don't like how that zoomed. excuse me. So that is, so they're resolving their differences right now, which, so from my understanding, this looks like that's going to get in through, but the funding to ICE DHS, that part is going to come in, or they're going to try and for reconciliation bill. Which is just basically a budget bill, but you just need a simple majority to pass it. And like both sides of the aisle have used it. It started being used in Jimmy Carter. But the main part of the reconciliation bill and why it does not need the filibuster, aka 60 votes, to actually confirm it, is because all debates on that bill are limited to 20 hours. So both chambers are a budget resolution, a framework for the bill, compiled into a reconciliation by the committees on both sides. And that has to get through, but you still need a simple majority. I don't know if that's going to even pass in the Senate. The House is a very weird, I don't know how the House Republicans are working, because like I don't think the Democrats are going to vote on it because of the previous, well, I'm going to say majority of Democrats. Well, it's more of Thune says, which is the majority leader, over and over and over. Thune has said he's had to deliver the message in recent week. A bunch of them want to just keep lobbing it back. The president was where he is. I know that. I just tell him, I'm just giving you the social reality. It's not going to happen. The votes aren't there. So that's the majority leader in the Senate saying the votes are not there in like a statement. Now, could he be wrong? That's possible. Also, this was 2 hours ago, and depending on who you talk to, a lot can change 2 hours, especially on the Capitol Hill. But like, so there has to be a reconciliation bill. And technically they do have the ability with the Byrd rule to take out it incidental changes or outside of the committee's jurisdictions. I guess maybe incidental changes, but that'd be the best. That would be, I want to say, one of the easiest paths for ICE/DHS to get funded. I'm not saying anything is guaranteed. I'm very interesting. I'm interested in seeing how the term. There seems to be divisions in the GOP. Well, both the parties have major divisions. How the GOP has a major division of following the current administration, and then also the other side of the GOP who seem to not want to follow the current administration's lead play-by-play for everything. And it's very interesting that I need to double check. I'll just double check this. The GOP resigning. Highest since 1930 is what I heard. Yeah, okay. So 35 to 36 House Republicans announced they will retire and not seek re-election, which is the highest number since 1930. So that's also showing something interesting. And these are not just even like red safe areas where like they assume that someone from their own party is going to take it over. So there seems to be a major political shift going on. And wow, it even increases more when it goes into like seeking other offices. But this also does happen. Like I know that the since last year or since Trump's become president, there's been 28 seats that the Democrats have flipped. And that, well, 29 now because one has happened since then. So it's like very interesting. I'm not like by the way, I'm not saying this guarantees the House looks in favor, but I also don't take anything for granted. I rather prepare for worst case scenario and hope for the best. So we should still like the Democrats, progressives still should campaign as hard as they can. But I'm curious to see what's going to happen with the Senate as well. And so like, and I do have, oh, here we go.
A lot of Republicans in the House that are in vulnerable seats were already worried, and now they are even more worried. In a big piece of legislation like this, they're already having to defend and try to point out the positives of the big, beautiful bill, and this would just add one more thing.
Welcome to Reporter's Notebook, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the stories breaking on their beats. I'm Jim Antle, and I'm joined today by congressional reporter Lauren Green. And Lauren, they're talking once again about having a second reconciliation package, and only in Washington can reconciliation drive people apart. But you've written a story about how there are obstacles to going down that path again. What are some of them?
Well, there are a lot of obstacles. We started hearing floats of talks about Reconciliation 2.0
okay, I think that's back
late last year. I wrote my first story late last year. So obviously it's been a few months since those talks really started, and there hasn't been a specific framework that everyone's been able to get behind or things that have been able to work. I think that first and foremost, one of the biggest obstacles is we have Ways and Means Chairman who really led reconciliation, the first reconciliation bill with the big beautiful bill. He's saying it's not possible. He's the highest ranking chairman of committees that's coming out and being like, we don't have the numbers, we don't have the votes. We lost 2 votes back on the big beautiful bill in last July. It was Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick and Thomas Massey.
Right.
And now they have.
Also, it's very interesting that if you look at the current seats that are up for a bit, also it might be well, technically it's that one is undecided, so it's like 3. We have 2 vacant spots. I have to double check why this is not this is a tool I made to see how many Republicans and Democrats are. But yeah. And so like the margins are very, very tiny, and they do just need a simple, well, the House always needs a simple majority.
Have an even smaller margin. They have a 1-vote margin, so they have one person that they can lose, and there's all of these different facets that complicate that 1-vote margin. You have the people who are pushing for the Save America Act. The House Administration Committee has come out with some provisions to be able to add some stuff from the Save America Act into a second reconciliation package that wouldn't be taken out through parliamentary rules over in the Senate. They're arguing that this version is watered down. The Senate was the one that proposed it first, passing these provisions through reconciliation, and people like Anna Paulina Luna has come out against it so strongly that has already kind of shut down that area of talks. They want them to pass it through the yearly reauthorization
and this
of
is
FISA,
just 5 days old.
That's having its own complications in itself. You have a really big time crunch that they're on. We have the midterm elections in November. The closer you get to a midterm election, the less likely a big bill like a reconciliation bill is going to be to pass. You have a lot of Republicans who are in really competitive districts that they don't want a big bill like this passed right before the election.
They don't want to take a tough vote.
They don't want to take a tough vote. They are already fighting for their political career in a year that is trending towards Democrats in every special election we saw in 2025. And then I think they're even more worried after the Florida special election that flipped for Democrats' favor this past week. And so I just...
Where Mar-a-Lago is.
Exactly, where Mar-a-Lago is. It was a Trump plus 11 district. That was a big win for Democrats. And I think that a lot of Republicans in the House that are in vulnerable seats were already worried, and now they are even more worried. In a big piece of legislation like this, they're already having to defend and try to point out the positives of the big, beautiful bill, and this would just add one more thing for them to have to campaign on.
So the advantage, though, of reconciliation, it's a procedural tool in Congress, and it allows you to pass things on a party line vote and avoid a Senate filibuster, right?
Yes, and so that's where the talks of passing Iran supplemental come in through reconciliation.
Oh, I also forgot the other part of the bill. The reconciliation bill, since it's a budget bill, will include all funding, including this is if Trump wants to actually have more, to send more troops out to Iran, he is going to have to get agreed to on the budget and that. And so this is where that hasn't been agreed on, and so he wants to get more funding because they're already running out, because I have heard this current war/conflict is getting absurd costs. And so like it's I think it's actually very important to watch reconciliation is the most likely, has the highest chance of success for the GOP from what I can see. But I don't even know if it's a likely chance. Because people are getting pressured because of the impact of oil. And if they, in short, if I want to make a bumper sticker politic moment here, if blank voted for this bill, which increased your oil prices, because they also sent your sons and children, your sons over there. I could do this an easy Democrat anti-slogan against Republicans if I wanted. Saying, oh no, it's not the whole entire. I do not. I'll go into that segment in a couple minutes in more depth about, because I did listen to Trump's speech last night with Iran. I am truly curious about who is talking to Trump and what information they're giving to Trump. Because, I know part of his information for a fact, and this is out of his own mouth, has been altered so he can enjoy it more. I'm gonna watch it in 10 minutes. But it's... My hopium was hoping for, what's the word? My hopium was sorry, jokes. My hopium was saying that the current conflict / war will be over. No. If anything, his statements are there's going to be more boots on the ground. Well, not more, but there are going to be boots on the ground. He used very harsh terminology to the point where he wants to take it down, destroy. He said that U.S. out of the goodness of their heart is not destroying Iran, which that's not, and he did not even mention talking to Iran. So that's highly concerning. I don't know. That doesn't look like a good sign for negotiations at all. And the terminology that he used, don't think is helpful. And it's very interesting that Iran's actually responding to Trump through social media. So Iran already has responded to him. Yes, he did use that word. I forgot that word. He did use the word obliterate. I was going to say scourge earth.
The Congressional Progressive Caucus this week put out their official stance on this issue, saying that they were going to oppose any supplemental funding. That is a really big coalition of Democrats, and we've seen almost all Democrats are probably going to come out against this or vote against any supplemental, with the exception of maybe a couple. You saw almost every Democrat vote for the War Powers Resolution, along with 2 Republicans. And so they can almost bank on getting no Democratic to very, very slim Democratic support on this Iran.
Because the Congress has to approve or disapprove for any military action over 60 days. It failed to do a retreat from my understanding, remove the troops actions they're currently doing right now. So I think that the current funding is an indirect way to limit the actions that Trump is doing right now. Military force.
Iran supplemental. So if they do want to pass this, reconciliation is an option for them since they get to bypass that 60 vote threshold in the Senate. But that's also a ticking time clock. The president and Speaker Johnson have talked about how the operation in Iran is wrapping up. And so if that does wrap up anytime soon, that really does bring down the necessity of passing any aid for Iran, which also brings down the, I guess, appetite to pass.
Trump has said that he is waiting until Iran I'm going to put this in quote, open the Strait of Hormuz again on April 6th. Technically, it's already open. It just commercial boats don't want to go there because they're worried about the current conflict, or they just don't want to, which makes sense because insurance and then companies might want to make money. So it makes sense that they wouldn't want to go into the Strait of Hormuz right now.
Any reconciliation funding through that. Yesterday, Chairman Arrington was talking about how there needs to be something in there that the conference has an appetite to do quickly given the time constraints, and something like Iran does give that, but without it, it's going to be a really tough sell.
So there's closer to home a bill that would really be close to the hearts of a lot of sports fans. I think Bernie Sanders is pushing it. Talk a little bit about what he's trying to do.
They're trying to give any time that a sports team sells and moves across the country. I know that there have been a lot of teams that did it. Most recently, you had the Oakland Raiders move to Vegas. They want to implement this year buffer period to allow people such as government entities, private entities, individual people buy this sports team for a good rate to keep fan loyalty and keep these taxpayer dollars from getting distorted by selling these off. There's been a lot of sports stuff going on the Hill. We have a lot of market prediction betting bills. We have one over in the Senate with Senator Curtis and Senator Schiff.
This is a little bit off, but one of the things that they should really do add regulation for is the prediction betting, poly market. I do not think, especially politically, because it makes it so people can bet on what's going to happen. And I think poly market, and if you really, really, really want, I don't know, what's that say? If you really want to do it, just make it not cash and just do nonsense points, and the points never are equal to currency. But I know some people that would still sway their vote if it's just in-game currency.
And there's just been a lot of sports stuff on the Hill right now, especially in the midst of March Madness.
Sports ball on the Hill.
That's it.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
You can read Lauren and the rest of our political team's coverage at WashingtonExaminer.com.
Okay, so that clip's over with. So yeah, so that all of that's going on. I will see and try to track a bill on Congress. I might actually add a section to my Discord about tracking important bills. Because they're so it looks like that I was looking at the calendar real quick. I thought the Senate's coming back on the 13th, but they might come back a little bit earlier depending on what happens. From my understanding, I'm gonna go full screen here, is that the US is using 3 different countries to talk to Iran. US is not talking directly to Iran. I want to say Turkey is one of those countries, but they're using other countries to basically send messages along from the best educated guesses we can have as civilians. And also, I just realized, and I was like, a silly head, I'm good. Spoilers alert. They did actually choose a new supreme leader. I know that the prime minister is the one who's like technically the legal one, but their new supreme leader they chose is the son of the previous leader. I didn't know that until yesterday. Yeah, that I don't understand how the. Yeah, I didn't realize it was the son. I didn't realize it was the son of the previous leader, which that's. If I was that son, I would be very vengeful against the U.S. for what they did, even if like my parent was not a good parent. I would still be vengeful, so I don't know how the current. I'm going to put in Trump's words, like in quotes. The new regime is not as extreme as the previous one. Also, I learned there's different meanings of the word regime. That was interesting to learn. But yeah. So hopefully I answered your question. About if the US is actually talking to Iran. Because like the answer is sort of. Okay, cool. And I'm just watching the clock because I don't want to actually talk in the middle of the ad. And I'm actually, since we're doing this, committee schedule. Is there any, there's nothing scheduled for the next week. Wait, hold on. Nope. Nothing is scheduled for the next week. Or the previous week. Well, I mean this week. I meant the previous week to next week, which is this week. That's all it makes sense. So it looks like the House and the Senate are going to both be having they're going to be having both have sessions next Monday. So that's interesting. Oh, I will say this is a random factoid, and I didn't make this a whole entire segment, but I think it's hysterical. I think it's TMZ is stalking all the Congress members and actually like encouraging people to send pictures to TMZ of the Congress members to show what our Congress members are doing during this time. Lindsey Graham has been followed very in Disney World. And so multiple other representatives as well, which is fine. I'm actually impressed that I respect TMZ for doing that, which, yes, Disney. He was in Disney. And he was here holding a bubble wand. And then right after that picture got released that he was holding a bubble wand, he had to take a picture of him going duck hunting. I don't know if he was actually going duck hunting, but I don't know. I am on TikTok, so I don't think I can say the word, that word. So he had to post up right after a picture of him doing that, and they had to clarify that was not his bubble wand, that was someone else's bubble wand. Which I think everyone should have bubble wands to enjoy. That's not even a euphemism. I think just bubble wands are cool. Very. But yeah, no, it does look like they're Speaker pro tempore. So that was done today. That's interesting. And yeah. Thank you for everyone who stays for the ad and everyone who has subscribed. Please play words on stream.
My fellow Americans, good evening. Let me begin by congratulating the team at NASA and our brave astronauts on the successful launch of Artemis II. It was quite something. It will be traveling further than any manned rocket has ever flown and will very substantially past the moon, go around it, and come back home from a distance that has never been done before. It's amazing. They are on the way, and God bless them. These are brave people. We want to God bless those 4 unbelievable astronauts. As we speak this evening, it's been just 1 month since the United States military began Operation Epic Fury, targeting the world's #1 state sponsor of terror, Iran. In these past 4 weeks, our armed forces have delivered swift, decisive, overwhelming victories on the battlefield. Victories like few people have ever seen before. Tonight, Iran's Navy is...
I will say that one of the things that does, like, bother, like, this is, like, a little bit petty. I don't like how Trump says, like, no, so much force that no one's seen before. There is no way to prove that statement. That is a ridiculous statement to make. One, I don't know what. Like, I understand if I said that statement myself, I'm boosting my own ego. I do not understand. And, like, I am treating the spot of the president as a spot of a certain attitude and decorum. That word, I'm also, what's the word, double-sided, because, like, it also is it's a compliment to me, but it's also insulting to people around me as well, because, like, our previous allies, not just for, like, this conflict, but, like, conflicts or wars before now, like, going back, I'm going to go super back, but, like, French and helping us with the American Revolution. That was amazing and very helpful for them, and I think they didn't. That was a good, like, a strong force and that stuff. And also, it gets very complicated. My problem with the statement is so vague that it's not provable, but it's also insulting to our allies. And I do not like statements that have double entendres in that way. But yeah, that's the way I take his statements. It's always a pat on the back with himself, but it's always also supposed to be a little bit demeaning to people around him, to make people lower than him, is how I take a lot of his statements. And that's why I dislike them.
Gone. Their air force is in ruins. Their leaders...
From my understanding, their air force is from the 60s or 70s. So I'd be very worried if our military could not deal with that type of air force. I also I'm also, like, very picky about the compliments I put on myself, so I'm picky on the compliments I put on others. But, like, that's very pedantical. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of that. I also think that there's also a point of, if I have to say I'm the best person, I am the best. Am I the best? Why do I have to keep reminding people I'm the best? If I'm the best, I just am the best. I exist as the best. I do the best. I don't need to tell others because they know it. And I have enough respect for my own ego. I'm not saying I am the best. That is egotistical. But, like, I have enough ego. I have enough ego that there's certain attributes I care about myself. Like, I think I'm... Yeah. I mean, there is that angle. Building yourself up. Yeah, you would. Yes, you're trying to build yourself up. And I misread that statement the first time. But more of, it shows a lack of ego or self-pride that I have to keep reminding people around me that I am the best. I am the greatest. If I am the greatest, if I am the best, I don't need to remind others.
Most of them, terrorist regime they led, are now dead.
Wasn't that snorting, or is that me? I don't think I'm snorting.
Their command and control of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is being decimated as we speak. Their ability to launch missiles and drones is dramatically curtailed. And
I will fully admit, I was getting very animated when I was talking, so I kept tapping the table, so I was worried that was me. Because I do talk with my hands, and that's one of I'm going to see if there's a way I can implement that with the VTuber model, because I'm very, very enemy with my hands. I do talk. I wonder if that's like, if that could be
Their weapons, factories, and rocket launchers are being blown to pieces. Very few of them left. Never in the history of warfare has an enemy suffered such clear and devastating large-scale losses in a
also, like,
matter of weeks. Our enemies are losing in America, as it has been for 5 years under my presidency, is winning, and now.
Also, random factoid, Obama, one of the last things Obama did is he actually signed a deal with Iran to help keep track of their nuclear reserves. And as of within a year of Trump getting in, he canceled that deal. And basically, they would have to keep track of how much nuclear facilities, like the nuclear material they had, and it's been increasing since then. Hello. Welcome to the stream.
Now winning bigger than ever before. Before discussing this current situation, I also want to thank our troops for the masterful job they did in taking the country of Venezuela in a matter of minutes. That hit was quick, lethal, violent, and respected.
We're just taking a country mean in this regard. And also, like, from my understanding, Venezuela still has its own leadership. Maduro had a second in charge, and she's still a government official, and she's still presiding. So I'm also, like, interested in why he chose that line of logic when the easier line and a better line is the current, well, I'm gonna say regime, I like the word regime. Okay. Maduro and his wife were a harmful force, and we took those two out, and we let Venezuela be self-sufficient so they can grow on their own. I feel like that's an easier line of logic to follow. And is closer to the truth, so
by everyone all over the world. After rebuilding our military during my first term, we have by far the strongest military anywhere in the world. And now we're working along with Venezuela and are, in a true sense, joint venture partners. We're getting along incredibly well in the production and sale of massive amounts of oil and gas, the second largest reserves on Earth after the United States of America. We're now totally independent of the Middle East, and yet we are there to help.
Also, by the way, moving on from, like, my personal view of Trump, like, moving on from that, there's a problem of this statement, because, like, even if I'm highly suspect of this, but let's just say I agree with Trump's line of logic, that we do not rely on the Middle East for oil. Okay, congrats if the U.S. does that. Congrats, we succeeded. Confetti everywhere. Our allies still use that oil. And what we have done is limit some of the resources that our allies use to survive. I'll drink water. Why do that's do you want the serious answer, or do you want my joke answer to that? Because I have opinions about why Americans voted for Trump. Because I can actually, or I can do both. That is an option on the table. About why Americans voted for Trump. My joke answer is the joke. The joke answer is that people like the celebrity personality so much that they'd never educated themselves at all, and they just like Trump has a lot of confidence, even though I don't like his confidence. He does, and he's very confident to a group of demographics, which are amazing. And part of that statement's true. um the real reason why like Trump won is Americans since the 1960s and 1970s have slowly been getting their rights removed and that stuff. First was like protesting with the union busting in 1960 with Ronald Reagan, and he made it so basically flight controllers, they can no longer overnight. Ronald Reagan made it so protesting no longer was effective in the way it used to be by making it flight controllers 11,000, well, I want to say 11,700 of them got fired overnight, and basically made it illegal for them to ever get protests again. And since then, unions have had a lot less power. And from, and also lack of political education is the other part. Like I had some, like I could tell you maybe I could have, a lack of political education. And I will fully admit I got a lot more politically educated because Trump won presidency. And I'm going to full screen. The other part is since 1960s and since today, the laws have changed at a higher rate than Congress procedures have changed at a higher rate. The lack of education, lack of union power, lack of negotiation power, people's working conditions getting worse. And it is easier to fearmonger people and say that's our easiest solution. If we deal with this random minority group and make them go away or make them in smaller in society, that means in a form of logic, that I will have more resources since the other people are not stealing or taking them in quotes. And a lot of people do see that problem. And there's a lot of problems, lack of medical support, the ability the average American citizen cannot quit or have very little days off, so they can't protest, they cannot educate themselves since they're always working, which then creates a cycle. Also, sorry if my answer is very verbose. If there's any questions, go ahead and ask. And I'm trying to see if I missed anything. Also, I would have there has been a slow shift. There's been a slow shift about like Ronald Reagan also got rid of the fairness doctrine, which that was only for 12 subjects, but basically said I'm going to use like the word abortions here. I can't think of a way to sidestep it. If you said something about abortions, you would have to show both point of views. If you did not do that, then a random person could call up I would have to double check, but I'm gonna say federal government, a branch separate, and saying, "Hey, the radio didn't show both sides," and they would get fined. Ronald Reagan got rid of it, and then the SCOTUS at the time also helped encourage that ruling by saying it was infringement of free speech, which, yes, it is, but it comes into if you do not protect, if you have to limit speech to protect speech, because it's to the point when the fairness doctrine got revoked, Rush Limbaugh became a major force in the United States. And then Rush Limbaugh led to Fox News. And Fox News got to the point that Fox News has won 2 to 3 different lawsuits about misinformation about the election of 2020. And I don't see a lot of people also Fox News is just the best representation of this. There's now 2 different types of media pools. I think sorry. Nope. I was gonna say RFK for a second there. Freaking. I mean, Obama was a decent president. I think that it gets I can't believe I forgot my favorite president. Roosevelt. Roosevelt is a president I liked in that sense. And I think Obama was a decent president. I would have to like learn about him. Obama was Biden also had its strides, but Biden also had other major problems. One of the biggest problems, I think, is how he dealt with Israel and Palestine, and he did not revoke being Israel's ally, which I think U.S. should remove that today. I think Biden should have done that because we have terms to be with our terms of for us to send support. Our ally has to not do certain things, and Israel's passed that line. And I think U.S. it's time for. I was going to say RFK by accident, but no, JFK was good. And I think that there's those three, Obama, JFK, and FDR have made massive changes in that stuff. Like without Obama, we wouldn't have an Obamacare, and people who had pre-existing conditions would not be able to get health care. So actually, I don't know JFK's middle name, so I'd have to look it up real quick. Oh, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt. FDR is my favorite because of him signing the New Deal, and that was the height of unions in the United States. Do you even spell that correctly? I'm very impressed. But FDR signed the New Deal, and it was the height of unions, and it helped to create the 40-day work week. Also, I know the least amount of Bush, and also which Bush are you talking about? There's senior, and then there's junior. And then junior is the one during 9/11. I would have to go into I will say that my knowledge about them is probably one of the less out of the more recent ones, because sadly that could be either one. A lot our U.S. kind of invades a lot of countries. I'm going to say the 9/11. I'm going to say junior, because of no, Iraq. Yeah, what's Iraq? I don't know. It's hard. U.S. has too many has too many conflicts in quotes. No, I don't. Well, it was excuse. Wait, no, is Iraq before then? Darn it. When did no, I can't spell the word Iraq. When did the U.S. invade Iraq? I'm sorry. I'm not saying Iraq had anything to do with the 9/11. I'm saying that the U.S. used that as an excuse with Iraq. It's more of I'm saying I used landmarks. No, Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. I agree with that. It was just more of the excuse the administration at the time used. So okay, I'll fully admit I do know a little bit about. Okay, yeah, okay. So was I okay? At least I'm on the right war. But no. I did look into that. Yeah, so there was, I want to say, FBI or CIA press debriefings that were released to the public. It was very clear on the onset that there was no weapons that the administration was quoting at the time. And Bush was hell-bent on doing that. So I don't even think it was him being uneducated, which he might be. I would have to look at this education. But he was very determined to, whatever happened, it was going to be Iraq's fault. And he was going to use whatever excuse to do that. And I'm against all, majority of war and conflicts. In my dream copium world, the U.S. actually would put boots on the ground in Palestine and deal with Israel. again, that is like hopium. I do not see that being realistic, and I don't like what's happening to the Palestinians because of genocides are bad. And I don't, and like, that's my hope. And I don't actually even know if boots on the ground with U.S. force would actually be a helpful thing. I would hope, like, part of me would just hope that I would stop it, but I don't. That might be my American ego there. Think the American force can actually do something good, or maybe helping Ukraine and Russia, and because countries' borders should be respected. Well, that I could see that being. I will fully admit I do not know much about Bush Sr. at all. So I could see that being a vendetta. Hold on, let me see. List U.S. conflict / force. But I'm so sorry, I did not mean to misspeak about that. It's on my. Oh, you got for following. Oh, I did not know that. Oh, here we go. I will say that my war history is like. Also, yes. Before I get, if you sub, if you send Twitch bits, or follow or subscribe, you can unwrap a card. That's. I do have stream transitions. Thank you. Said I really need to learn more other countries' histories and that stuff. I know some of them. Yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah, it was 2003. Korea, okay. And yeah, okay, Afghanistan's the war I was thinking of. And also, like, how do I say this nicely? A lot of wars were started not, like, being beyond that is, like, because of oil companies. Because we needed to increase the U.S. had to increase the price of oils. And so it's a part of me wonders if it's a random roulette wheel, and them just selecting a random country over there since the Middle East. I'd also tell me if the Middle East is the incorrect or proper term, because I know there's different terms for that area. Since Middle East does have a lot of oil reserves and controls a lot of the oil flow by shipping, and that's up by boats. Oh, okay. Also, tell me if you need to zoom in more, because I can. But yeah, no. So, like, no, I don't. I disagree with every single war after World War II. Or war / conflict after World War II. Oh, by the way, I do have an ad in 2 minutes. So you'll be seeing an ad for 1 minute and 30 seconds. If you subscribe, you will not see that ad. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about your uncle. And I'm just annoyed so much because I don't think. No, I think I'm going to go anti-capitalist here. I do not think that capitalism or profits should encourage war, and I dislike capitalism heavily at this point because, one, I don't like on the Medicare front or medical care. I don't think a child should, and like I'm gonna put in quotes, the richest nation in the world should die from like cancer just because the parents don't have enough money to fund the kids' cancer treatments. I think that's ridiculous, and I think it's a horrible thing. And I think I just recently realized the impact of oil on U.S. starring conflicts / wars, and I'm against that. I don't think it saddens me beyond belief, and I think there needs to be legislation against the oil barons or oil companies at this point, and also hopefully in my delusional world, education for the average U.S. citizen about like how oil works, because it seems like the average U.S. citizen does not have an understanding of that. But I'll right back after the ad, and if you want to stay and play the game on Twitch Words on Stream, please have fun playing that game. I'm so bad at Words on Stream. But thank you for everyone who stayed by and watched the ad. It let me scheduling those ads lets us know people who are coming to the stream blind do not have to see ads when they first enter it. But thank you for everyone who stayed through the ad. But yeah. I didn't actually even. Rack is opposite. He's in the bad situation because he can't export. It upsets me right now because like I just recently learned how like it's the current Iran conflict / war. I'm just saying conflict in quotes because of how U.S. declares the word conflict. U.S. last time it declared war was World War II, so Iran is technically a conflict currently, even though I think it's a war. So that's why I'm putting in quotes, but I'm doing it to be technically accurate to the point of it. But back to what I was saying, I just recently figured out, just recently learned how the Iran conflict / war is impacting them. Like I didn't realize how much they like relied on gas compared to Americans. In like Iraq, hold on, how close is Iraq to Iran? I understand why Iran would be why Iran feels that way. Well, does that at least give you a low production being in the neighborhood of the U.S. Embassy? I don't know if the U.S. would bomb itself because of ego and pride. Oh, I didn't realize you shared a literal border with Iran. Oh, I'm like looking at maps right now. Yeah. Oh wait, moving. Okay. Oh, seeing if that moved actually correctly. Oh wow! I didn't realize how tiny Israel was compared to other nations. Yeah. Yeah, no, that does sound terrifying. I'm so sorry you have to go through that. There's no point. But yeah, I really I truly do hope from the bottom of my heart that as US does pull out from it, I Iran as soon as possible. And I know that technically it's going to look like a win no matter what for Iran at this point, because they just proved that they can use the Strait of Hormuz to hold the world hostage. And that, yeah, that's bad. And it would be nice if the negotiations were going well. From what I've seen, it is not going well. So, like, and I just, I want to say, I'm, yeah. I feel bad because, like, you don't choose where you're born. And, like, I don't want anyone to be born into conflict. Yeah. Also, some of the countries have very, very interesting shapes. Yay! Congrats on getting qualified for the World Cup. I am very happy for you. Is the World Cup being held in the US right now? I hope it's not. What? Because I know that Trump did. Oh, wow! Well, I'm breaking a 40-year streak. That's actually really. I'm happy. I'm truly happy for Iraq. Well, I'm just curious. Well, oh, that's right. I will fully admit I do not. Is it soccer or football? Because I don't know what they call it. Okay. Ooh, we can see the brackets. That's actually. I will say this is. Thank you, Google, for actually having this. Thank you for having nice view. I like it. But that, I understand if Iran wants to do that to US's embassy. US just needs to stay out of Iran. US raises way too many problems there, and I do not think that. I think US is like a bag of marbles and just keep shaking it up randomly every couple of decades just to create problems. That's me being cynical, though. But, like, US needs to stop. And, like, Iran wouldn't be doing that if US didn't do something stupid first. And I'm saying it's dumb for US to do that because the meme that I was referencing earlier was the idea that for the first time ever, we started the war, the Strait of Hormuz closed, and we're continuing the war to open up the Strait of Hormuz in quotes. For the first time, the war started a problem that we're trying to end. Let me see. Let me see. Hold on. There we go. You're in like group I, so I didn't scroll far enough. And like, the funny thing is, I think there is some business that we should stick our nose into, like when it comes to humanitarian crisis. Which, like, the Palestine and Israel and Ukraine and Russia. And like, sticking our nose could just mean just providing aid. I'm not saying boots on the ground. It also could be like intel. Which, I believe Russia's providing that right now to Iran, which, yeah, that makes sense. Nice. I didn't know there was a playoff team. Wow, I didn't know they had so many. Oh, you can actually watch the clips. I did not know that. That's cool. Also, I respect Google for having this view. I have never watched a game of soccer in my life. Watched way too much baseball. And I watched a bunch of football because you always watch football on Thanksgiving. And hockey. A decent amount of hockey at this point. I still don't know all the rules of any of those sports. Uh, uh, oh, I mean, like, the kicking, like, football / soccer, it's, like, still very important. Like, still a good sport. Also, by the way, I got confused there for a second because of my thing. It just says green platform because I have certain platforms don't like the mentioning of other platforms. So I'm like, we just green platformed a ball. I'm like, what does that mean? And then I'm like, oh. So I got very confused there for a second. But yeah. We only got into 2 minutes, well, 3 minutes into Trump's speech. And we still have 15 minutes left. Okay. Maybe I'll put on like 1.5 speed. Maybe that'll make it easier. Oh, let me see if I can increase the speed. Also, by the way, I listen to the speech so I can acknowledge it, but like Trump. Ooh. Maybe I should make a counter for how many times Trump lies. Ooh, how hard would that be? Oh, that would be. Okay, hold on. Okay. Also, like, I'm going to make it so the oh, hold on. Let me see. That real quick. I might have to go on multiple things. This is what happens when I get distracted. Okay, we're going back to just chatting. I'm going to continue chatting while I actually look up how to do the counter thing. Because like, yeah, no, I think it's important to observe what your leader in this country is saying, even if you disagree with him with everything and realize he lies. It also does make you understand what the vibe is. I'm using that the biggest term as in like. Oh, I could do that. To see what he's like this to see what he wants to do and that stuff. Even though like I do, part of me wonders if Trump has squirrel syndrome like I do, and this is not an insult to people with squirrel syndrome because it's just people who have squirrel syndrome. If he's like, ooh, shiny, let's go over there. I get ooh shiny over like random factoids and systems to learn. Part of me wonders if he's leading the country that way. I don't know. Rhyme theory. And try to translate. And we're going to go over here. But yeah. I mean, like, hold on, I'm just curious. Like, I remember this was also going on. I would have to find it. But there was, how much has Trump lied? Yeah, over 4 years, he has lied 30,573 times. And part of me is want to be humor and facetious, and to the point, and actually start the counter there. Because like that is documented lies that the Washington Post does have. And it wouldn't surprise me if it's more because this is 5 years ago. And well, this is 5 years ago. So maybe it's more. So like so one day. And let's see if we can import there and there. And there we go. Why does it not translate? There we go. What is Iraq's current leadership? Oh, fully admit I do not know. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't. Okay. Does it take your country? I mean, there was another nation. Oh, like India does all their election in one day, and I think they're like the most populous country in the world. Or is it China? I know it flips back and forth. Okay, we're going to put that over there. My avatar was going all weird. I know. Yeah, that's the things I do not under. And we're going to see if I'll. Oh, I made my avatar. How dare I? I mean, that's fair. We're going to add text. And we're going to not make that like 200. We're going to add that as 72. And we're going to add background opacity. Okay, there we go. And there. Also, I'm going to figure out why stream elements. That's fair. Keeps making those messages. But yeah, there. And I'm going to see. That should, in theory, I don't know. We're going to start watching the thing because, like, we will keep track. Watch the bit. Oh, I did.
We don't have to be there. We don't need their oil. We don't need anything they have, but we're there to help our allies. Tonight, I want to provide an update on the tremendous progress our warriors have made in Iran and discuss why Operation Epic Fury is necessary for the safety of America and the security of the free world. From the very first day I announced my campaign for president in 2015, I have vowed that I would never allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. This fanatical regime has been chanting death to America, death to Israel for 47 years. Their proxies were behind the murder of 241 Americans in the Marine barracks.
I don't know what Islet speaking is.
The slaughter of hundreds of our service members with roadside bombs. They were involved in the attack on the USS Cole, and they carried out the countless other heinous acts, including the just horrible, bloody atrocities of October 7th in Israel, something that most people have never seen anything like it. This murderous regime also recently killed 45,000 of their own people who were protesting in Iran. 45,000.
I will say that Trump's not the best
terrorists
speaker
have
himself.
nuclear
I'm not trying to be
weapons
mean, because like I don't. That's one of the things I don't want to like pick on him for. But like, I also can slow this down if you want, because right now it's like a 1.2, a 1.5. So I can put it down.
Intolerable threat. The most violent and thuggish regime on earth would be free to carry out their campaigns of terror, coercion, conquest, and mass murder from behind a nuclear shield. I will never let that happen, and neither should any of our past presidents. This situation has been going on for 47 years and should have been handled long before I arrived in office. I did many things during my 2 terms in office to stop the quest for nuclear weapons by Iran first, and perhaps most importantly,
You literally sabotaged efforts to make it to prevent them from getting this. I don't know what you're talking about.
General Qasem Soleimani in my first term. He was an evil genius, brilliant person, a horrible human being, however, the father of the roadside bomb. And
the evil genius thing is very odd. I don't like calling any Oh, that's interesting. I did not know the factoid of history.
He lived just horrible what he did. Iran would have been perhaps in far better, stronger position. Had he lived, we would have had probably a different conversation tonight. But you know what? We'd still be winning and winning big. And then very importantly, I terminated Barack Hussein Obama's Iran nuclear deal, a disaster. Obama gave them $1.7 billion in cash, green cash. Took it out of banks from Virginia, D.C., and Maryland, all the cash they had. He flew it by airplanes in an attempt to buy their respect and loyalty, but it didn't work. They laughed at our president and went on with their mission to have a nuclear bomb. His Iran deal would have led to a colossal arsenal of massive nuclear weapons for Iran, and they would have had them years ago, and they would have used them. Would have been a different world. There would have been no Middle East and no Israel right now, in my opinion, the opinion of a lot of great experts, had I not terminated that terrible deal. I was so honored to do it. I was so proud to do it. It was.
Okay, I'll try to get the timer up. I'm getting closer. We're gonna see if this works. Nope. I have to double check. What? Oh no, another ad already? Wow. Okay. I don't get to control these ads. That makes sense why that's not working. There we go. And there we go. Nope.
So bad right from the beginning. Essentially, I did what no other president was willing to do. They made mistakes, and I am correcting them. My first preference was always the path of diplomacy, yet the regime continued their relentless quest for nuclear weapons and rejected every attempt at an agreement. For this reason, in June, I ordered a strike on Iran's key nuclear facilities, an Operation Midnight Hammer. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Those beautiful B-2 bombers performed magnificently. We totally obliterated those nuclear sites. The regime then sought to rebuild their nuclear program at a totally different location, making clear they had no intention of abandoning their pursuit of nuclear weapons. They were also...
That's not even a lie in itself. There is no proof that Iran had that. Oh, hello, Dark Green Valkyrie. How are you doing?
Rapidly building a vast stockpile of conventional ballistic missiles.
I'm sorry, I missed your message.
Had missiles that could reach the American homeland, Europe, and virtually any other place on Earth. Iran's strategy was so obvious. They wanted to produce as many missiles as possible, and they did, with the longest range possible. And they had some weapons that nobody believed they had. We just learned that out. We took them out. We took them all out. So that no one would really dare stop them.
Where are you getting these statements from?
And they raced for a nuclear bomb, a nuclear weapon like nobody's ever seen before. They were right at the doorstep. For years, everyone has said that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. But in the end, those are just words if you're not willing to take action when the time comes. As I stated in my announcement of Operation Epic Fury, our objectives are very simple and clear. We are systematically dismantling the regime's ability to threaten America or project power outside of their borders. That means eliminating Iran's Navy, which is now absolutely destroyed, hurting their Air Force and their missile program at levels never seen before, and annihilating their defense industrial base. We've done all of it. Their Navy is gone. Their Air Force is gone. Their missiles are just about used up or beaten. Taken together, these actions will cripple Iran military, crush their ability to support terrorist proxies, and deny them the ability to build a nuclear bomb.
From what I've read, we've not done that. The U.S. has done the opposite of that. I do not know where you're getting your factoids from. I truly do not know. Where the U.S. is getting, where, you know what, maybe I am just not aware of the amazing information. Well, the Strait of Hormuz, that's like a... Actually, hold on, let me actually see if I can make that. I might make a different version of this so people can read. I'm just doing this because I can see that if someone talks on another platform, people can't see. Oh, that reminds me of another ad break. But it's more of insurance. Companies are afraid because of the conflict. And so as long as the conflict there, the companies will not want to go in the Strait of Hormuz and insurance reasons, which is fair. Like, I'm not... But yeah.
Our armed forces have been extraordinary. There's never been anything like it militarily. Everyone is talking about it, and tonight I'm pleased to say that these core strategic objectives are nearing completion. As we celebrate this progress, we think especially of the 13 American warriors who have laid down their lives in this fight to prevent our children from ever having to face a nuclear Iran. Twice this past month, I've traveled to Dover Air Force Base, and it's been something. I wanted to be with those heroes as they return to American soil, and I was with them and their families, their parents, their wives, their husbands. We salute them, and now we must honor them by completing the mission for which they gave their lives, and every single one of the people,
pause.
Their loved ones.
I forgot to switch over to no one. Because I forgot to switch scenes. But what I said is Japan I feel complicated about because like when we introduced nukes to the known world to the point other countries now have to rival it. And the other pact of that is I wonder if it was just show force and it was not necessarily needed again, but it gets complicated because hindsight's 2020. And I don't, and also like introducing it to no world is like toothpaste in a bottle, and once it's out, you can't put it back in, or a genie out bottle. I forgot what a toothpaste is called, what the toothpaste container is, and now I know it. Okay, I'm going to move on.
Their lives, and
Or
every
get
single
stuck on
one of the
words.
people, their loved ones said, "Please, sir, please finish the job." Every one of them, and we are going to finish the job.
I can literally show you. I have seen statements opposite of this. I can show them.
We're going to finish it very fast. We're getting very close. I want to thank our allies in the Middle East, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain. They've been great, and we will not let them
Well, again, I agree with
or
that
fail
statement.
in any way, shape, or form. Many Americans have been concerned to see the recent rise in gasoline.
If we really want to be a smart aleck about the world, the worst that we've ever seen is the event that ended the dinosaurs. I think that was the worst event that anyone on the earth has ever seen. I think that's the worst. Is my theory.
Prices here at home. The short-term increase has been entirely the result of the Iranian regime launching deranged terror attacks against commercial oil tankers in neighboring countries that have nothing to do with the conflict. This is yet more proof that Iran can never be trusted with nuclear weapons. They will use them, and they will use them quickly.
Yeah,
it would lead to decades of extortion, economic pain, and instability.
And also, I've recently figured out that there is some religious people who believe that humans were alive during dinosaurs. So maybe in some people's minds that some humans did see it.
Worse than we can ever imagine. The United States has never been better prepared economically to confront this threat. You all know that. We built the strongest economy in history. We're going through it right now, the strongest in history.
No. Just no. You what was it on? There was something I was tracking. I had a tracker for like the price of eggs. I don't know if I have it still. I got rid of it by accident. Price of eggs. Which topic? I know I switched between subjects. Ooh, here we go. Actually, the price of eggs are doing good. I'm very happy for the price of eggs. Okay, here we go. This is the live economics of oil right now. So yeah, 111. Oof. Wait, hold on. I'm curious. This is me. I want to see. Ooh. I also did not realize how bad the oil crisis was getting currently. Because, like, I didn't know it's like $6 in California right now. But, like, that's... Hold on. So, wait. Alright. I'm on the opposite side of the country. Hold on. Where are they? And this is me just curious if Trump's speech actually increased today. And I understand this is crude oil and that's like much higher. It's much more complicated than this, and I'm like boiling it down a lot. But how much has it changed since 6 months ago? We're gonna do that. Yeah. So it's at a peak. Okay. We have 7 more minutes left.
We've taken a dead and crippled country. I hate to say that, but we were a dead and crippled country after the last administration and made it the hottest country anywhere in the world by far, with no inflation, record-setting investments coming into the United States, over $18 trillion, and the highest stock market ever with 53.
Okay, I'm just saying this because this is a point of annoyance for me. Stock markets mean nothing for the average person. Okay. Nope, sorry, that's not okay. Being fair, that statement is actually boiling it down too much. Stock market does not mean anything to the average person buying, like their buying power day to day, but it does impact the amount of jobs that are produced and created and that stuff. Which usually it gets more complicated now since I respect Iraq more. Yeah, I'm happy Iraq has free healthcare. That's fair. Yeah, US should have it. Yeah. I don't know why US does not have it. Like, huh. Countries, healthcare across world. We're going to see if this. Thank you. Also, it's Wikipedia, so I know it's not a primary source, but for the sake of ease, we're here. Okay, we actually have every single system. Because we technically do have free healthcare if you're a veteran, which. Universal single. How far can I zoom in? Okay. I'm just using, like, wow. Yeah. Okay. I don't even know if this is accurate. I mean, US is correct. That's fair. I mean, everything sounds good besides universal private insurance. I don't know why anyone. Okay, US has that on mass. There was. Hold on. I want to say. I don't. It's. I know I posted it somewhere. I'm trying to remember because, like. Helps. Okay. And there we go. Hold on, let me. Go back here. Let me see. Also, the Global Freedom Index is, like, just very, very sad. I went down rabbit holes. But yeah, let me see. Alright, I'm going to actually keep playing the video before I forget.
The all-time record highs in just 1 year. It all positioned us to get rid of a cancer that has long simmered. It's known as the nuclear Iran, and they didn't know what was coming. They never imagined it. Remember, because of our drill baby drill program, America has plenty of gas. We have so much gas. Under my leadership, we are #1 producer of oil and gas on the planet, without even discussing the millions of barrels that we're getting from Venezuela. Because of the Trump administration's policies, we produce more oil and gas than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. Think of that, Saudi Arabia and Russia combined.
And we're going to. There we go. So this is US's system currently. The beverage model, the national health insurance model, the Bismarck model, and the out-of-pocket model. This is mostly US and the out-of-pocket model right here. Well, that's the average person. And then there's now the. I also, like. Part of my frustration comes from, because if we had a simpler system, there'd be less administration fees, and a lot of the expensiveness of not hotels, hospitals come from administration fees. Don't know.
And that number will soon be substantially higher than that. There's no country like us anywhere in the world, and we're in great shape for the future. The United States imports almost no oil through the Hormuz Strait and won't be taking.
Well, okay. Being fair, there could be also, like, gas is a very complicated thing. So if the other country, hold on, I'm just curious. Does One, I'm not saying it. Do I trust him? No. But it's more of, does even if we did not get oil from the Strait of Hormuz, our allies does, and that means the majority of the market does actually get oil from there, which would inflate the price of oil for everyone. Again, there's assumption that we don't get it. It depends on what you mean by stealing. Okay, I will work on that last time. I'm having a hard time actually getting the counter working. I will have a BS. Oh no, Trump mentions at the end. He says that he negotiated a deal with Venezuela. I don't know what that means. And he's very vague. He literally just says we made a deal with Venezuela. And also I realize I'm spelling the misspelling. Okay, thank you, Google, for being automatic. By the way, I'm not saying that I agree that we actually have a deal. I'm just saying that's Trump's words. That's use the Strait of Hormuz. I'm going to have it. Okay. We're going to see if this works. We're just going to do this real quick. Good article. There we go. No, I might screw that up. Okay. We're gonna see if what the New York Times says about it. Because I fully don't. And we're going to do there. Okay. Well, the allies is not ready to pull back from the war. Yeah, okay. Although the United States imports very little of oil and gas from the Hormuz, the interconnections of global energy markets mean that any restriction on traffic on the waterways creates an economic shock throughout the countries. No, the current president was actually Maduro's number 2. So it's not more of not even that. I mean, Maduro is just a... I'm not saying I like Maduro. But it's more of it didn't actually make any change. But yeah. Yeah, that's Maduro's number 2 is now in charge. So it's still Maduro's regime or government. You didn't even change the political players at all. If anything, you might have ruined some of the investigations into Venezuela because of what Trump did. And not even going to the idea of we just kidnapped a leader of another country without actually having, that's a treasonous act. No, that's I thought it was a different person. The Venezuela opposition leader. Who I don't actually know if they timed it purposely this time. I wonder if it's more of Israel was going to do a strike no matter what. And the US just jumped on the back. Yeah. So the current, that's what I was thinking. So the person who, Delina Rodriguez is the person who is the current leader of Venezuela, and the person who Maria Machado is a different person. She's a former deputy of the National Assembly of Venezuela, though, but she's the oppositional leader. And again, there's 3 primary reasons why U.S. did it. The first one is to hurt China. think they're. I don't think that's what's happening, but whatever. Because China's using it to their advantage right now. The second one is because of oil futures and oil stocks, and there's been showing very suspicious bets around the time that futures of oil were. A lot of people betted the future of oil to look better right before Trump started his current conflict/war. And the third one is because Israel's been wanting to do it for decades now. Yeah.
Taking any in the future. We don't need it. We haven't needed it, and we don't need it.
How much oil do we actually get then? No, wait, wrong one. Okay, there we go. We're gonna open this place again. That's not helpful. Uh-huh. Well, okay, first off, I don't think Israel was at war with Palestine. That's another word. What they call genocide. But like Israel, I wonder if they know that they have to do something fast because the tides are turning. I mean, looking at U.S. support alone for Israel has gone down really bad, and it gets worse the further down you go down the generations. So, like... Ooh. But do we have China on here? Oh, China takes up 25%. So it's like... So like 10%, that's split up with Europe, and so like that's still like a decent amount of change. Yeah.
We've beaten and completely decimated Iran. They are decimated, both militarily and economically and in every other way. And the countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage. They must cherish it. They must grab it and cherish it. They can do it easily. We will be helpful, but they should take the lead in protecting the oil that they so desperately
Yeah,
depend.
like Asia is definitely hurting, but like I think some of our European... Not to go back over here. Asia is like one of the main... Like China's going to hurt a lot. India, I can see that being a big impact. And I'm curious about more of the Middle Eastern countries, yeah. I'm so upset with the US's role with the Palestinian genocide. So like hopefully the tides are turning with that as time goes on. Because I'm start to see a lot more, at least on voting poll number issues. I'm seeing that's becoming a bigger issue for people, and then like some of the politicians.
So to those countries that can't get fuel, many of which refuse to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, we had to do it ourselves. I have a suggestion. Number one, buy oil from the United States of America. We have plenty. We have so much. And number two, build up some delayed courage. Should have done it before. Should have done it.
That doesn't make sense. Like, one, if we have so much, why is our oil going up? Also, there's probably reserves. I don't know if he's actually going to pull, if he's going to take money out of oil reserves.
With us, as we asked, go to the strait and just take it, protect it, use it for yourselves. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done, so it should be easy. And in any event, when this conflict is over, the strait will open up naturally. It'll just open up naturally. They're going to want to be able to sell oil because that's all they have to try and rebuild. It will resume the flowing, and the gas prices will rapidly come back down. Stock prices will rapidly go back up. They haven't come down very much, frankly. They came down a little bit, but they've had some very good days over the last couple of days. We've done actually much better than I thought, but we had to take that little journey to
Well,
Iran
that's
to get.
because majority of the stock market's AI. Of course, it wouldn't be impacted currently by this. So yeah, that makes sense. The stock market wasn't impacted this because like it's predicted that like 90, like up towards 90%. Like again, it gets very hard to divide what's AI and not AI, and that's not because the market without AI has only grown 0.1%, and the rest of the market growth is from AI from predictions. So yeah, that makes sense. The stock market would be untouched currently because it's not. I mean, it's probably gonna get harder, and also like what it would be the access to technology. So like right now we have stockpiles of some of the technologies like RAM, graphics cards. But as soon as we run out of that and we have to buy our next supply and we have to deal with oil, I can see the stock market going down because of the prediction of that.
Get rid of this horrible threat with our historic tax cuts, where people are just now talking about receiving larger refunds than they ever thought possible. They are getting so much more money than they thought. That's from the great big beautiful bill. Our economy is strong and improving by the day, and it will soon be roaring back like never before. It will top the levels that it was a month ago. I've made clear from the beginning of Operation Epic Fury that we will continue until our objectives are fully achieved. Thanks to the progress we've made, I can say tonight that we are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly. We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3.
Like each time they talk or have an addressing of the nation, they change the reason why they started this conflict/war. So of course you can. I determine, hey, I'm going to just use streaming of analogy. My goal is to stream every single day, but then last minute I change it to I'm going to stream for 3 days a week. Yeah, I'd make that goal because I just changed it because I reached the benchmark. That doesn't mean anything if you've reached your goals if you keep changing them so much.
3 weeks, we're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong. In the meantime, discussions are ongoing.
And that statement makes me so freaking angry. I wanted you just threaten, even though I don't like. I'm not saying Iran's perfect and that stuff. I'm not gonna know. You just threatened to bomb a country out of existence. One, I would not. I would stop talking to Cold Stop. That's a terrifying statement. Why would you? And like the amount of people lives and people lost in that. And like I know that they don't. He doesn't care about it. I'm gonna. Well, okay, that's putting words into people's mouths. I am concerned that he does not care because he bombed Israel and U.S. as a joint strikes against schools, which is very concerning. So, like, I would not even use that. I would never use that statement, even as a joking statement. And I have incredibly dark humor, but that's too far, and that does not show strength. And if I was our allies, I would not be willing to talk to U.S. because I'd be worried about U.S. using lethal force of against a nation.
Regime change was not our goal. We never said regime change, but regime change has occurred because of.
Again, define regime, please. Because, like, I started listening to some of the, like, our U.S. ambassadors from the previous terms, and they said, we don't count this as a regime change because it's the exact same mindset. It has not changed their outlook. They have the exact same goals. Nothing has changed. And some of, like, the other papers, this is not, like, mainstream media, but, like, Al Jazeera, who are saying that they might be more radical than before because you just took out their religious leader. So, which is, like, I understand they would get more angry about that. Like, if someone did the same thing to the Pope, I understand a bunch of Americans would get more angry for that. I'm not wishing ill on the Pope. I'm just saying that I'm using it as a comparison because I know that's what way of relating, like comparison.
All of their original leaders' death. They're all dead. The new group is less radical and much more reasonable. Yet if during this period of time no deal is made, we have our eyes on key targets. If there is no deal, we are going to hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard and probably simultaneously. We have not hit their...
So you just threatened to take out all the electricity of the country. Also, there will be an ad in 1 minute. If you subscribe, you do not see the ad. The ads that run every 30 minutes prevent pre-roll ads for new people who enter the stream. So thank you to the people who do watch the ads. It means a lot for me, to the people who do. And also I'll try to go, you can play words on stream, which the objective is to take all the letters and spell as many words as you can as possible. I will fully admit I am terrible at that game. So hopefully people, I think the average person can do better than me. I'm not a very good speller, so. So there we go. And I'm just... there's... Yeah, that makes sense. Nearby ally ships and that. Like, I wouldn't want the US being bombed and that stuff. And I understand, like, if other countries nearby would want to help out just to prevent bombs that go out of that preferred area from preventing that happen.
Oil,
So, yeah.
even though that's the easiest target of all, because it would not give them even a small chance of survival or rebuilding. But we could hit it, and it would be gone, and there's not a thing they could do about it. They have no anti-aircraft equipment. Their radar is 100% annihilated. We are unstoppable as a military force. The nuclear sites that we obliterated with the B-2 bombers have been hit so hard that it would take months to get near the nuclear dust, and we have it under intense satellite surveillance and control. If we see them make a move, even a move for it, we'll hit them with missiles very hard again. We have all the cards, they have none. It's very important that we keep this conflict in perspective. American involvement in World War I lasted 1 year, 7 months, and 5 days. World War II lasted for 3 years, 8 months, and 25 days. The Korean War lasted for 3 years, 1 month, and 2 days. The Vietnam War lasted for 19 years, 5 months, and 29 days. Iraq went on for 8 years, 8 months, and 28 days. We are in this military operation, so powerful, so brilliant, against one of the most powerful countries for 32 days. And the country has been eviscerated and essentially is really no longer a threat. They were the bully of the Middle East, but they're the bully no longer. This is a true investment in your children and your grandchildren's future. The whole world is watching, and they can't leave the power, strength, and brilliance. They just can't believe what they're seeing. They leave it to your imagination, but they can't believe what they're seeing, the brilliance of the United States military. Tonight, every American can look forward to a day when we are finally...
Oh, no, he's 100% proud about these wars. He is. Like, one, because there is strong indication, I am putting this as vague as possible, that some of Trump's own messages from his social was basically a hint that he was going to invade Iran, and then people predicted better on oil futures, and some of those people might be associates of Trump. And he is also making a lot of money from other things like crypto.
Free from the wickedness of Iranian aggression and the specter of nuclear blackmail.
I don't know if he thinks about the human cost of it all. And that's one of the things that I like go back and forth on. And it gets like very hard.
Because of the actions we have taken, we are on the cusp of ending Iran's sinister threat to America and the world. And I'll tell you, the world is watching. And when we do, when it's all over, the United States will be safer, stronger, more prosperous, and greater than it has ever been before. May God bless the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much, and good night.
Okay. And so that segment took a little bit longer than I was expecting. That's fine. I mean, like, I understand no one trusts the U.S. again for a bit. So yeah, I would encourage people like to pay attention to Congress.gov for the reconciliation bill. To see if our current Congress is going to want to fund the current conflict/war, because I think that'll be a strong indicator. And part of me is like, I don't want to fund this, but the other part of me of it is, if that does, that means that Congress is basically at a standstill, and I don't know if that's a good thing either. I'm not like, and by the way, I'm not, yes, human casualty is worse. I don't know what's going to happen to the rest of the government. Maybe just frozen. I think that. Oh, this is a much smaller story. But the Trump administration cannot alter homelessness funding conditions, the U.S. courts rule. And it's like so new that I don't actually have any media representation yet. So it rejects new conditions of homeless funding. It's in the Federal Appeals Court. I had the exact quote. HUD Secretary Scott Turner remains committed to reforming the misguided housing first approach that funded the self-serving homeless industry complex, rewarding activists and ignored solutions. I'm not saying I believe that at all. I'm sorry. I do not believe that statement. Like, I morally do not believe that statement, but that is a statement that HUD Secretary Scott Turner has said. And so being preemptive, preparing for worst case scenario, they actually some services stop providing aid to, like, accepting new people and homeless people because they didn't know if they would have enough funding. So I would continue people to watch the case. So there's 170K individuals impacted. Reuters says lawyers for some of the plaintiffs said that the administration prevailed more than $2 billion worth of grant funding supporting 4,000 local housing conditions could have been subject to HUD's new rules. Which it, and I guess this is one of the cuts from the Great Big Beautiful Bill. Okay, technically it's actually formally a Great Beautiful Bill, but like, eh. That's very I was just like double checking to see if what any updates on the Pam Bondi thing. But it's very interesting he chose the word fired for her, because he didn't say that she quit, which could have been like an easy thing for them to say. Oh, fired. But yeah, no. So there's a 120-day limit for the temporary AG, by the way. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, it was also very interesting. She was actually there on Wednesday. When Trump went to the birthright citizenship case. I mean, the problem with America isn't even a lack of housing. Like, I'm at physical structures. It's like we have enough houses. It's just more I don't know if they're livable, which is another thing. We could house everyone in America. And I don't. It's a text speech, and so like text-to-speech is you just remove like the middle part of the letters, the beginning and end. There's a theory about all you need to actually read words is just the first and last letter, and maybe the middle letter at max, and then people can actually just speed read. That's what majority of people who actually like can speed read at the top speeds do. And do GOP, that's Oh, Amazon imposes a 3.5 fuel surcharge on money oil merchants. And the fee attack will take effect on April 17th. So yeah, Amazon's going to increase prices by 3.5%. You don't have to leave in that stuff. Doesn't. I'm just seeing if there's anything. Oh, it looks like more infighting. Ah. But yeah, that'd be interesting to see. I'm double checking to see if there's any other stories, or does anyone want me to talk about a certain matter? And yeah. Also, I'm going to bookmark this because I should bookmark the price of oil. Also, like, I for BR. What is BR? I don't know what that is. Oh. What? Just got I misspelled Trump really badly. Because I heard it was on stay for 14 days. Oh. Okay. So yes and no. So yeah, no, like the planning commission basically said that he basically has the permit to do it, but that just because you have the permit doesn't mean you're legally allowed. It's two different things because it's getting contested right now. So there's another court case that actually froze all of it. That court case that froze all of it is, hold on. I froze all the construction. So he's actually not allowed to work on construction right now. It was the National Trust for Historic Preservation of the United States versus the National Park Service. And that is on, yeah, it's already been appealed and that stuff, but technically it's still working up the courts. So technically that's actually ruled against him. And that's the court case name if people want to have access to it. But yeah, does that make sense? Which I Uh-huh. So like technically they have days to appeal it. It's gonna go up. That's the US District Attorney. And so after that step, I want to say that was not the Court of Appeals yet, so that one's gonna happen before US Supreme Court, I believe, because that was a US District Court who ruled that. I am going to double check. Yeah, it's a US District Judge. So yeah, because I assume that Trump is going to appeal all the way up to the top. Because like there's certain issues that he cares about, and I think Trump's primary thing is he cares about legacy. He also that's what he's doing. Like he wants to have a legacy after he dies. I don't think he's looking the best healthcare wise and that stuff, but he wants to have a legacy and his name carried on. But yeah, and but yeah, no. I also I'm not gonna talk about it much because I don't know, but I know the case against Charlie Kirk is getting worked through. I didn't see. Yeah, he'll definitely have a legacy. I mean, but yeah. Oh, did you see the I want to say I forgot what's called. It was C-SPAN or C-SPAN impeach. Or it was like a GOP event called impeachment. Oh, rally. No, it might be a conference. I mean, guys. Also, it's very interesting. It happened so recently afterwards. CPAC. Yeah, there we go. That was what I was looking for. Have you seen that? Where's CPAC? Hold on. This is actually
political conference. The annual conservative political conference known as CPAC is currently underway in Texas, and it's going to be rocking all weekend long, everyone. Get excited. Now, if you're not familiar with CPAC, it is one of the largest and most influential right-wing conferences in the country, and it's typically a pretty good indicator of the current direction of the Republican Party and the broader American conservative movement in the moment. Which means that these days it's basically a 4-day-long MAGA rager, filled with long-winded dear leader-like speeches praising Donald Trump and discussions about the right's latest culture war issues and targets. Now, just to give you a sense of the vibes I'm talking about, here are the names of just a few of the sessions this year. Defeating communism, and we mean it. Don't Sharia my Texas. Who worked on that one? Give them a button. Cigars, Steaks, and Ivermectin, a Maha survival guide. The president will sue you now, how the legacy media was defeated, which literally was immediately, and I love this part, and with zero hint of irony, followed by the censorship industrial complex. Now, the other thing to know about CPAC is that it's kind of like a bizarre right-wing Comic-Con where conservative activists, politicians, and personalities gather together to rub elbows. You can see anyone from top elected Republican politicians to key Trump administration officials, like the #2 guy at the Justice Department, Todd Blanche. Yeah, he was speaking. You can see border czar Tom Homan and right-wing media figures like Steve Bannon. Heck, you can even see Trump-pardoned seditionist and Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio there. Seen here, palling around with adjudicated liar and disgraced former Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bavino, taking a little thumbs-up photo together there. The MAGA fever dream that is CPAC, everyone, that is what it is. But I have to say, things do feel a little different this year. Part of that is probably because Donald Trump himself, who hasn't missed CPAC in a decade, isn't planning on attending. He's going to be hunkered down at Mar-a-Lago this weekend instead, which is a little surprising given his CPAC attendance record. And given the fact that he really misses an opportunity to have a room full of his cult followers clap for him. According to MS Now reporter Rosa Flores, Trump's absence is part of the reason why the halls have been emptier. But even setting aside the fact that Trump's not planning on going, the CPAC crowd has been a little, well, off this year. I mean, take a look at what I mean.
Come on, be happy. Be happy, CPAC. I know we kept you up late. How many of you would like to see impeachment hearings? No. That was the wrong answer. Let me try it again.
Trump's own following. Well, the following of, like, I don't even know if it's Trump's following. The MAGA following, the conservative following, wants to see impeachment hearings. Do you know how bad that is? And these are diehards. The people who are like Trump all the way, conservatives all the way.
How many of you would like to see impeachment hearings? No.
Oh no, they
Can someone bring some coffee out for the CPAC?
I know.
Oh yeah, it's just because they're all tired. They didn't mean it. They're just joking. Yeah.
Gotta keep this House majority.
Yikes. That did not go as Matt Schlatt planned. They got that one wrong by MAGA standards twice. Now, whether that's an under-caffeinated crowd or whatever happened to there, during this year's CPAC, MAGA world is obviously not 100% on the same page on a few issues, and probably none of them are bigger than Trump's war with Iran. One young Trump voter told the Washington Post he ran on no new wars, there's a new war. He ran on making stuff affordable, stuff's less affordable. I'm less than pleased. That voter even went as far to say, I'm considering not voting in the midterms. I mean, can you blame him? Look, Trump's base is clearly divided right now. The cracks are showing. I mean, just listen to Steve Bannon on the CPAC stage earlier today.
Yes, but like, how do I word this nicely? I don't know why people are saying he ran on new wars, but his rhetoric was like clearly saying that. Like, he said that he wanted to make Gaza gone for like housing properties. How would you do that unless you do war? Trump was very clear, and I don't know. I understand that there's two different media pools, and so the media landscape is actually ostracizing to the point of both extremes. Like, I'm left, Democrat, communist. I'm putting that in quotes, because the typical American doesn't understand what communism is. But like down that rabbit hole, but then there's a conservative rabbit hole which has like different weird theories. And like, but like Trump's rhetoric was always encouraging that, and his actions were a very good indication. And I don't know how that was missed. Yeah, no. Saying that he'd never said no new wars. I'm not arguing that point. I was arguing about like his other actions outside of that were saying that he was going to do wars. Because like no, I remember him saying those words too, but like I can also say that I am never going to eat junk food again. Do you believe me when I say that? I don't believe me when I'm going to say that. I can have a very good debate saying I'm never going to eat junk food again in my life. That doesn't mean anything. One, because ice cream's amazing, and I think everyone should have the right to ice cream if they want ice cream. Part of me wants to jokingly say that ice cream is a universal right.
Let me say, probably the start of a war. The decision in going forward is obviously the commander-in-chief's, but he's got to have, people have to have his back, and you're only going to do that with full information.
I mean, and also like, I don't know if I'm going to blame that just solely on like Christians, and that's just more of I just don't like absolute statements. But it's more of part of me wonders if they actually truly understand what's going on. Part of me wonders if they know what the word genocide means. Oh yeah, no. Like, Christians are a big part of his base because Christians are more likely to believe in conspiracy theories than the average person. And Christians are more likely to get into cults and follow cult logic. Because like I want to say last year or maybe it was 2 years ago, someone made a mural and like not a mural, art demonstration in New York Times Square, and they put photos of every single like after an incident happened. Incident's probably too late of a word. After our mass casualty event of like people dying, they showed pictures of every single person, and they got representations of their photo, like, and it's like a big Polaroid photo. And it goes like their shoes, their clothing, and maybe it was kid, it was like some of their toys. I don't know if they're actually their little toys. I'm hesitant to think that, but to representate that those are lives lost. And that was able to ground people enough to realize the amount of lives lost because you are now making a physical representation of them. I'm sorry, I will get emotional during this. But that they have a physical representation because otherwise there is a very abstract thing in your brain about like numbers are abstract in the context of human lives. Isn't it hard to like what the amount of human lives lost for any terrible incident? It's hard to put down. Once you start seeing physical representation, it makes it so much more real. And seeing the faces, because some of those people might look like your family members or people you know. Some of them are kids, and some of the people who walk by have siblings or parents themselves, and it makes it so much more real. And I think Americans have that problem because we won the geopolitical lottery, as in like we're in a very safe spot geopolitically speaking, like as in landmass wise. And so I think it's harder for Americans to maybe relate to not having to deal with that conflict so much. So there's an ad in 45 seconds. Thank you for the people who subscribe. You will not get an ad. The people who are still there, please watch the ad because it'll make it so people do not have to watch pre-roll ads. And thank you for everyone who does stay after that. During that time, maybe think about other subjects you want me to talk on about. And yeah. I want to go. Video. Okay, there we go. Oh, okay. My phone's about to die. So I think that's a good time for me to sign off. I have and I use my phone to help live stream with this avatar. So thank you for everyone who joined me today. It means so much. Thank you for all the follows, and thank you for all the chatters. It really means a lot, and it helps motivate me to throughout the whole entire stream. I hope everyone has an amazing day. I will be going live again tomorrow from 1 p.m. EST to 4 p.m. EST. If you want to watch more of my content, go on YouTube to see that, or on to see our shorts at all. But yeah, I hope everyone has an amazing day.